All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling manipulation and persuasion.
Oh, juicy.
It is, right?
Mm.
We've got Dark Psychology and Gaslighting Manipulation by Ryan Mace as our main source,
A classic.
plus some fascinating research articles to round things out.
Excellent.
Goal today isn't to turn anyone into, a puppet master.
Right.
More like giving you the X-ray vision to spot those tactics out in the wild.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, as they say.
And honestly, it's everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Advertising, politics, you name it.
Yeah, it's kind of unsettling when you start to see the patterns.
But fascinating.
For sure. Like, did you ever hear about the monster study back in '39?
Vaguely. Rings a bell.
Okay, so researchers tried to make orphan children stutter.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, ethically messed up, obviously.
No kidding.
But it showed how powerful suggestion can be, especially on, vulnerable people.
That's the thing, right? We're
Yeah.
all susceptible to influence, especially when we don't realize it's happening.
Totally. All right, moving on to a slightly less disturbing experiment, the third wave.
Ah, this one I know.
High school teacher creates a fake authoritarian movement in his class.
And the kids go all in, right?
Oh, yeah. Symbols, rituals, the whole 9 yards, even turned on their own friends who weren't into it.
Shows you how strong that pull of belonging is.
And how easy it is to get swept up in a group mentality.
Absolutely, and how easily those in power can exploit that.
Which brings us to the Zimbardo prison experiment.
The infamous one.
You had students playing prisoners and guards, supposed to be like a simulation.
It knows haywire, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, the guards went way too far, the prisoners were traumatized, had to shut the whole thing down early.
Powerful stuff, even if ethically questionable.
Huge ethical problems, for sure, but it shows how our behavior is shaped by, the situation we're in.
The power dynamics, the roles we play, it's all part of it.
So let's get into some of those deliberate tactics, the dark psychology stuff Ryan Mace breaks down in his book.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that.
And it's not always like mustache-twirling villains.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's more subtle, even unintentional.
Like the foot in the door technique. Ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah, the classic. Get someone to agree to something small.
Then bam, hit them with the bigger ask later.
Plays on our consistency bias.
Makes total sense.
Then you've got love bombing, showering someone with affection.
Oh, yeah, creating that dependency.
Then there's the good old guilt trip, everyone's favorite.
Oh, for sure. Feels like there's a whole playbook out there.
There probably is.
Now, Mace also talks about this thing called the dark triad.
Narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy.
Right, those 3 lovely traits.
Often linked to manipulative behavior, though it's not a one-to-one thing, right?
Of course, not everyone with these traits is a master manipulator.
Exactly. Nuance is important.
But the term Machiavellianism comes from that book, The Prince, by Niccolo Machiavelli.
All about gaining and maintaining power, even if it means being ruthless.
So there's a historical precedent for these tendencies.
For sure. But we don't want to paint too bleak a picture.
No, gotta balance it out.
Because persuasion can be used ethically too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not all bad.
Think about teachers inspiring students, doctors encouraging healthy habits.
It's about influence for mutual benefit.
Exactly.
And there's an art to it. Mace even mentions Aristotle's 3 appeals: ethos, logos, and pathos.
That's classic rhetoric.
Can you break those down for us?
Sure. Ethos is about credibility. Why should I trust what you're saying?
Okay, makes sense.
Logos is the logical appeal, using facts and reason.
And pathos is the emotional appeal, right?
Exactly. Tapping into feelings, values, that kind of thing.
Powerful stuff. Like Abraham Lincoln was a master of this in his speeches.
Oh, absolutely. The Gettysburg Address, for example. Brilliant use of all 3 appeals.
Now, what about this thing called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP?
Ah, NLP. Fascinating stuff.
How does it fit into all this manipulation and persuasion stuff?
Well, NLP is about the connection between language, thoughts, and behavior.
Okay, I'm following.
It can be used for self-improvement, but also, unfortunately, for manipulation.
Right, 2 sides of the coin.
Yeah, techniques like anchoring, linking an emotion to a touch or word can be incredibly powerful.
Whoa. That's intense, like conditioning, but with emotions.
Kind of, yeah. And then there's pacing and leading.
Is that where you match someone's vibe before, like subtly guiding them?
Exactly. You build rapport by mirroring their behavior, then suddenly lead them towards your desired outcome.
Sneaky. And mirroring is like straight up imitation, right?
Yep. Imitating someone's behavior to gain trust.
It's all starting to sound like mind control.
Well, some of it can feel that way, but the ethical practitioners are very aware of the potential for misuse.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Speaking of misuse, let's talk about brainwashing.
Oh, yeah. the heavy stuff.
This is about breaking down individuals and installing new belief systems.
Scary stuff, like cults, prisoner of war camps.
Right, using isolation, sleep deprivation, all sorts of psychological pressure.
It shows how our understanding of psychology can be used for both good and evil.
Absolutely, which is why awareness is so crucial.
So we've gone from the monster study to NLP to brainwashing.
Quite a range.
Where do we even go from here?
Well, don't panic. The goal isn't to make you suspicious of everyone.
Right. That's not the point.
It's about recognizing these tactics so you can navigate the world more effectively.
Making informed choices, not living in fear.
Exactly.
Okay, but before we wrap up this first part,
Yes.
I gotta leave you with something to chew on.
Okay, hit me.
If even seemingly harmless things like advertising can use manipulation,
I see where you're going with this.
where do we draw the line between, like, ethical persuasion and harmful manipulation in our everyday lives?
Ooh, good question.
Think about that. We'll be back with part 2 soon.
Can't wait. Welcome back. Ready for round 2 of manipulation and persuasion.
I'm strapped in. Let's do it.
So, last time, we went pretty deep into the dark side.
Yeah, some heavy stuff.
But let's not forget that these same techniques, they can be used ethically too.
Okay, yeah, good point. It's not all doom and gloom.
Not at all. Think about, say, the business world.
Businesses need to, well, persuade customers to buy stuff, right?
Exactly. To thrive, they've got to be convincing.
Makes sense, but there's a line, right? Like a pushy salesperson versus a company that genuinely believes in what they're selling.
Oh, absolutely. Ethical persuasion is built on honesty, transparency.
Respect for the customer.
Yes. Understanding their needs, offering solutions that actually work for them.
So building trust, not taking advantage.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this applies beyond business too. Think about personal relationships.
Ooh, interesting. Are you saying we're always subtly persuading each other?
In a way, yeah. Think about convincing a friend to try a new restaurant or, getting your partner to agree on a vacation spot.
Huh. So understanding these principles can actually help us communicate better.
It can build stronger relationships.
So it's not about becoming master manipulators, more like using these skills responsibly.
Exactly. Speaking of responsibility or lack thereof, let's dive into the world of sales.
Oh boy, here we go.
Ryan Mace's book gets into the nitty-gritty of sales tactics.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Exactly. We've all encountered those salespeople, the ones.
Sometimes you make you buy things you don't even need.
Yeah. How do they do it?
Right. What's their secret?
Well, it's often a mix of psychological techniques and, taking advantage of the situation.
Like creating a sense of urgency.
Oh, absolutely. Limited time offer, only a few left in stock.
Ugh. The classic fear of missing out.
It works. Triggers our impulsivity.
So the key is to pause, right? Think, do I actually want this?
Oh, exactly. Don't get swept up in the moment.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Well, for sure. But the ethical salespeople, they get it.
They're not just trying to close the deal, they actually want to help.
They give you the info, answer your questions, let you decide without pressure.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now let's switch gears. How about the legal profession?
Ooh, lawyers. Professional persuaders, right?
You could say that. Their job is to convince a judge or jury.
Using logic, evidence, but also emotions, I bet.
Absolutely. It's a performance, a strategic use of language, and nonverbal cues.
High stakes.
Very high. And again, there's a range of ethical behavior.
Right. Some lawyers might play dirty, others are all about justice.
Exactly. Even in fields where persuasion is key, ethics should always guide our actions.
Okay, so from the courtroom to, well, the political arena.
Politics. Can't escape it.
It's all about persuasion, isn't it? Winning votes, swaying public opinion.
Absolutely. Politicians use everything. Slogans, speeches, media appearances.
Those carefully staged photo ops.
Oh, yeah. It's a show.
And some of it is harmless, I guess, just part of the game.
Sure. Got to get their message across somehow.
But then there's the stuff that crosses the line, right? The manipulation, the propaganda.
Unfortunately, yes. And it can be hard to spot.
So should we just be suspicious of everything?
Not necessarily, but be critical. Don't take things at face value. Do your research.
Question the sources. Look for those emotional triggers.
Exactly. Critical thinking is essential, especially in politics.
Okay, let's take a break from the serious stuff.
Need a breather?
I think so. How about we talk about popular culture?
Movies, TV shows, books.
Yeah. How often do we see manipulative characters in those?
Constantly. The classic villains, the scheming characters, even the romantic leads sometimes.
Huh, it's true. Why are we so drawn to those stories?
Maybe it's a safe way to explore those darker aspects of human behavior.
Or a way to experience the thrill of manipulation without, the real-life consequences.
Could be. Now, how about we get a little more complex and consider religion?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a whole other level.
Religion can provide meaning, purpose, community.
Of course, those are all good things.
But it's also been used as a tool for control and manipulation throughout history.
Yeah, that's the dark side.
Think about the Crusades, the Inquisition, even more modern examples like cults.
It's unsettling how some leaders exploit their followers' faith.
They prey on vulnerabilities, promise salvation, demand obedience.
It's scary how much control they can exert.
And it's not always so overt. It can be subtle, too.
Like using emotionally charged language to evoke guilt.
Exactly. Or presenting certain beliefs as absolute truth. No room for questioning.
It's a reminder that we need to be discerning, even in matters of faith.
Absolutely. And speaking of needing discernment, let's talk about the online world.
Oh, boy. A whole new landscape for manipulation.
Right. Targeted ads, algorithms shaping what we see, clickbait headlines everywhere.
It feels impossible to escape.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught up without realizing it.
Like those personalized recommendations.
Oh, yeah, they seem helpful. But they're based on algorithms tracking our every move.
Creeping me out.
And then there's social proof, that feeling that if everyone else is doing it.
Oh, yeah, like all those 5-star reviews.
Exactly. It creates a false sense of consensus.
Makes you feel like you're missing out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even in the digital world, we got to be aware of these influences.
So how do we even navigate this online world without feeling constantly manipulated?
It's tough. But one area to be really mindful of is streaming services.
Ooh, interesting.
They've revolutionized how we watch stuff.
Totally. Netflix, Hulu, I can't imagine life without them.
Right. But they're also masters of manipulation.
Really? How so?
They track everything.
Yeah.
What you watch, your ratings, even when you pause or rewind.
No way.
Yes, they build a profile of your preferences.
So they know exactly what to suggest to keep you hooked.
Precisely. How many times have you gotten sucked into a Netflix binge?
Oh, countless. It's so easy to lose track of time.
Right. So even when we're relaxing, we're not immune to these tactics.
It's kind of scary how much they know about us.
It is. We need to be mindful of how they're shaping our habits.
Taking back control of our viewing choices.
Exactly. And another thing to watch out for online are these things called dark patterns.
Dark patterns. That sounds ominous.
They are. Design elements specifically meant to trick you.
Like what?
Those sneaky opt-out buttons that are impossible to find.
Oh, I hate those.
Or confusing subscription plans that automatically renew.
Ugh, yes. Sneaky sneak.
They exploit our tendency to skim read or just click without thinking.
It's like they're taking advantage of our laziness.
In a way, yeah. They're designed to benefit the company, not you.
Not cool.
Yeah.
So we need to be extra vigilant online looking for these design tricks.
Absolutely. Now let's go back to personality types.
Okay, yeah, we talked about the dark triad earlier.
Right. Narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy.
Those are clinical terms, though, right?
They are, but you can also think of them as personality traits on a spectrum.
Okay, so not everyone who shows these traits is a manipulator.
Exactly. But they can be red flags.
So how do we recognize them without, diagnosing people?
Well, let's start with narcissism. Inflated sense of self-importance.
I need constant admiration.
Right.
Yes.
And they lack empathy, often use flattery or guilt to get what they want.
Charming on the surface, but manipulative underneath.
Often, yeah.
Okay, what about Machiavellianism?
This one's all about cunning, manipulation. The ends justify the means.
So they're strategic, playing the long game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's psychopathy, the most chilling of the three.
The classic sociopath, right? Lack of empathy, no remorse.
Yeah, they can be very charming, but utterly disregard others.
Okay, so these traits can help us understand manipulative behavior, but we're not labeling anyone?
Exactly. Awareness, not judgment.
Got it.
Now let's zoom in on narcissistic personality disorder, NPD.
Okay, how is that different from just having some narcissistic traits?
NPD is a clinical diagnosis, a consistent pattern of grandiosity, need for admiration, lack of empathy.
So it's more extreme.
Yes, it's deeply ingrained in their personality.
And their manipulation stems from this, fragile ego.
Often, yes, they use others to prop themselves up.
And they can be masters of gaslighting, making you doubt your own sanity.
Absolutely, very damaging.
So if we think we're dealing with someone manipulative, what can we do?
First, be aware of the tactics, the guilt trips, the love bombing, the gaslighting.
We've covered a lot today.
We have. And trust your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it.
Don't second guess myself.
Exactly. Setting boundaries is crucial.
Like saying no.
Yes. And walking away from unhealthy situations.
Easier said than done, especially if it's someone close to you.
It can be tough, but sometimes necessary.
What if it's a pattern of manipulation?
Document it.
Yeah.
Write down the incidents. It helps you see the bigger picture.
Okay, so I can see it more clearly.
Yes. And don't be afraid to seek support. Talk to someone you trust, a friend, therapist.
And an outside perspective.
Exactly. You don't have to deal with this alone.
That's good to hear.
Now let's talk about love bombing, often used in romantic relationships.
Oh, yeah, that whirlwind romance feeling.
Exactly. Excessive affection, gifts, attention, all early on.
Making you feel so special.
Yes, but it's a trap.
How so?
Once they have you hooked, they switch tactics, become controlling, demanding.
The classic bait and switch.
Exactly. Watch out for relationships that move too fast or feel too intense too soon.
So if their words and actions don't match up, red flag.
Big red flag.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Now let's talk about playing the victim.
Oh, I know this type.
They're always helpless, innocent, unfairly treated.
Always complaining, trying to get your sympathy.
Exactly. They use it to get others to do things for them.
So they guilt you into helping.
Yes. Pay attention to how often they complain, if they always seem to be the victim.
And if their requests for help are like over the top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True victims want solutions. Victim players want attention and control.
Okay, that's a helpful distinction.
Now let's get into gaslighting. This one's a doozy.
I've heard this term thrown around a lot.
It's a serious form of manipulation, making you question your sanity.
Seriously?
They deny things that happened, twist the truth, accuse you being crazy.
That's messed up.
It is. Often used by narcissists and abusers to maintain control.
So how do we even know if it's happening?
Be aware of anyone trying to deny or distort your reality.
Like if they're always questioning my memory.
Yes. If you feel confused, self-doubt, like you're going crazy, those are red flags.
Trust my gut again.
Always. Now, projection often goes hand in hand with gaslighting.
Projection, like a movie projector.
Not quite. It's about putting your own negative stuff onto someone else.
So like accusing me of being angry when they're the one who's actually angry.
Exactly. Deflecting responsibility.
So if that happens, don't take the bait.
Right. Don't get defensive. Just calmly state your reality.
Don't let them project their baggage onto me.
Exactly. Now, how about triangulation?
Triangulation, that sounds complicated.
It's about bringing a third person into a conflict.
Creating drama, I bet.
Yes. The gossip, pit people against each other.
Love a good gossip.
Well, these folks thrive on chaos. They might say someone else is talking bad about you.
Oh, the classic he said, she said.
Exactly. Or they'll use the third person to validate their own perspective.
So they're using this other person as a tool.
Yes. Don't get sucked in, refuse to gossip, talk directly to the person you have the issue with.
Okay, cut out the middleman.
Right. Healthy relationships are built on direct communication.
No more drama.
Now, how about this one? Vague or ambiguous language.
Ooh, that sounds slippery.
It is. Manipulators use it to avoid responsibility.
So like making promises they don't intend to keep?
Exactly. Or saying things that are technically true but misleading.
Hard to pin them down.
Right. If you encounter this, ask for clarification.
What exactly do you mean by that?
Yes. And get things in writing if possible.
Especially for important stuff.
Absolutely. Now, blame shifting. Ever encounter that?
Oh, yeah, the it's not my fault routine.
Exactly. They deflect responsibility, blame others or circumstances.
Always an excuse.
Right. They might downplay their role or even accuse you of being the problem.
So frustrating.
It is. Don't get defensive. Just state your perspective and the facts.
Don't engage in their blame game.
Right. And if they keep blaming others, just disengage.
Pick your battles.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about emotional reasoning.
Okay, what's that?
Letting your emotions rule your actions, not logic.
Like making impulsive decisions based on how you feel.
Exactly. They might cry, yell, get angry to get their way.
Playing on your emotions.
Yes. Stay calm. Focus on the facts. Don't get swept up in their emotional storm.
Okay, stay grounded.
Now, sarcasm and passive aggression. Those are sneaky ones.
Oh, I hate those. Those little digs, backhanded compliments.
It allows them to be hostile indirectly.
And then they say you're too sensitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't play their game. Address the underlying issue directly.
Like, hey, that comment hurt my feelings.
Yes. And if they deny it or keep being passive-aggressive, just walk away.
Don't feed the beast.
Now, let's talk about manipulation within power dynamics.
Okay, yeah, power can definitely be used to manipulate.
Absolutely. One tactic is creating a sense of obligation.
Like doing favors for someone, expecting something in return.
Exactly. Building leverage, control.
So they're being strategic with their generosity.
You could say that. Be wary of anyone who's overly generous or eager to do favors.
Don't accept gifts if it feels off.
Right. And if someone does something nice, you're not obligated to reciprocate beyond your comfort level.
True generosity shouldn't come with strings attached.
Exactly. Now, on the more extreme end, there's threats and intimidation.
Okay, yeah, that's getting serious.
It is. They might threaten harm, spread rumors, sabotage your reputation.
That's scary.
Take any threat seriously, document everything, report it to the authorities if necessary.
Don't mess around with that.
No, your safety is paramount.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Now, what about stonewalling?
Stonewalling.
It's refusing to communicate, shutting down.
The silent treatment.
Exactly. They might ignore you, walk away, refuse to answer questions.
So frustrating.
It is. Don't chase after them. Calmly state your need to communicate and set a boundary.
Like, hey, I need to talk about this.
Yes. And if they still stonewall, you might need to reevaluate the relationship.
Communication is key.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about manipulation in groups.
Okay, yeah, group dynamics can be tricky.
One tactic is creating a false sense of consensus.
Like making it seem like everyone agrees, even if they don't.
Exactly. They might say everyone thinks, or it's obvious that...
Trying to shut down debate.
Yes. Don't be afraid to speak up, even if you're the only one.
Don't just go along to get along.
Right. True consensus comes from open dialogue.
Okay, so always question, always challenge.
Exactly. Now let's talk about framing.
Framing, like a picture frame.
Not quite. It's about presenting information in a way that influences how it's seen.
Oh, I see, like spinning a story.
Exactly. Manipulators are masters of framing.
Making themselves look good, their opponents look bad.
Right. They might highlight certain facts, downplay others, use emotional language.
Like those political ads.
Exactly. Be aware of the power of language and imagery.
Don't just blindly accept what they're presenting.
Right. Consider the source, their biases, seek out multiple perspectives.
Critical thinking, again?
Always. And let's not forget the classic foot in the door technique.
Oh, that one. The small request that leads to a bigger one.
Exactly. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Sales, personal relationships, even politics.
So how do we avoid falling for it?
Be wary of any request that makes you uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to say no to the initial ask.
Set those boundaries early.
Exactly. Now, how about emotional blackmail?
Ooh, that sounds intense.
It is. Threats, guilt trips, using your emotions to control you.
That's not okay.
No, it's a form of abuse. Recognize it and don't tolerate it.
So what should we do if it's happening?
Set boundaries. Let them know you won't be controlled. Seek support from friends or a therapist.
Remember my worth.
Exactly. Now, manipulation in the workplace, creating a culture of fear.
That sounds awful.
It is. Intimidation, threats, constant pressure.
Like a boss who yells all the time.
Yes. Or threatens your job security, creating stress and anxiety.
Toxic.
Very. If you're facing this, document everything. Talk to HR. Consider if you want to stay there.
Get out of there.
Sometimes that's the best option. You deserve a healthy work environment.
Okay, so from the workplace to social media, another manipulation minefield.
Oh, social media, designed to be addictive.
Those notifications, the likes, the comments.
It plays on our desire for validation.
Makes us feel good, but also keeps us coming back for more.
Exactly. And then there's creating a false persona.
Oh, yeah, everyone's life looks perfect on Instagram.
Right. It's all about presenting this ideal image.
So how do we use social media without, like, feeling bad about ourselves?
Remember, it's a highlight reel, not real life.
Don't compare myself to others.
Exactly. Focus on genuine connections, living your own authentic life.
Stay grounded in reality.
Exactly. Now, scarcity tactics, those are big in marketing.
Oh, yeah. Limited time offer, only a few left.
Preying on that fear of missing out.
Making you buy things you don't need.
Right. Take a step back. Assess if you truly want it. Don't be pressured.
Resist the urge to impulse buy.
Exactly. Now, how about subliminal messages?
Subliminal, like hidden messages.
Yes. Visual or auditory cues below your conscious awareness.
Like those myths about messages in movies that make you crave popcorn.
Well, the effectiveness of those is debated.
Probably just urban legends.
Probably. But advertisers definitely use subtle techniques to influence us.
Planting those seeds in our subconscious.
You could say that. Stay aware of the power of advertising.
Don't just blindly consume.
Right. And speaking of consuming information, political campaigns are full of manipulation.
Oh, yeah. Propaganda.
Spreading biased or misleading info to push an agenda.
Using those distorted facts, emotional language.
Exactly. It can sway opinions, incite violence, even justify war.
Scary stuff.
It is. Be a critical consumer of information.
Don't just believe everything I hear.
Right. Fact check. Use reputable sources. Be wary of anything presented without evidence.
Okay, so be skeptical but informed.
And seek out diverse perspectives. Don't just stick to your echo chamber.
Expose myself to different viewpoints.
Exactly. Critical thinking is key.
All right, I'm ready to put on my thinking cap.
Good. Now let's talk about guilt tripping. That's a classic.
Oh, yeah, everyone's favorite.
Used by parents, partners, friends.
If you really loved me, you would.
Exactly. Recognize it as manipulation. You don't have to give in.
Set those boundaries.
Yes. You're not responsible for other people's happiness.
Okay, gotta remember that.
Now, flattery. That can be manipulative too.
Really? I love compliments.
They're nice, but be aware of the motive. They might be buttering you up for a favor.
Gaining my trust to exploit me later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not all compliments are created equal.
Okay, so be discerning.
Yes. This is a good place to pause for now.
Alrighty. Time flies when you're talking about manipulation.
It does. We'll wrap up this deep dive in the next part.
Back for more deep diving. I feel like we've uncovered so much already about manipulation.
We have, but there's always more to learn.
Right. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, but instead of tears, it's like aha moments.
I like that analogy.
So what other sneaky tactics are lurking out there?
Well, let's talk about leading questions, these sneaky ones.
Oh, yeah, I think I know what you mean.
They're designed to elicit a specific response. You know, the one the manipulator wants.
It's like the answer is already built into the question, right?
Exactly. They're not really asking for your opinion. They're trying to steer you.
It's so subtle, though.
It is. They might disguise it as genuine curiosity.
Like instead of asking, do you think this is good? It's more like, isn't this amazing?
Exactly. It makes it harder to disagree.
It's like they're planting that seed of agreement in your mind.
Precisely. And think about how this plays out in courtrooms, job interviews, even arguments.
Wow. Yeah, it's everywhere.
It is. So be mindful of how questions are phrased, not just the answers you give.
Okay, so it's not just what we say, but how it's said.
Now let's talk about state transference.
State transference. That sounds kind of sci-fi.
It's a technique manipulators use to build rapport, gain trust.
Okay, I'm listening.
They subtly mirror your emotional state, making you feel understood, validated.
Oh, like when someone just gets you, empathizes with your struggle.
Exactly. It can feel really powerful, like you found someone who truly sees you.
But in the hands of a manipulator, it's all an act.
Often, yes. A performance designed to lower your defenses.
They might even exaggerate their own experiences to match yours.
Yes. Or use leading questions to extract information.
So they're creating this false sense of intimacy.
Precisely. And once they have your trust, they can more easily influence you.
It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
A very empathetic wolf in sheep's clothing.
It's a reminder that even seemingly genuine connections can be used to manipulate.
Absolutely. Always be discerning.
Okay, so trust but verify.
Now, similar to state transference, there's mirroring.
Mirroring. Okay, like looking in a mirror.
In a way, yes. It involves subtly imitating someone's body language, speech patterns.
Oh, like those people who kind of become you.
Yes, like chameleons.
Yeah.
Adapting to their environment.
I've definitely met people like that.
It can be natural to some extent, but manipulators take it further.
They might unconsciously mimic your posture or even consciously adopt your opinions.
Exactly. Creating that sense of familiarity, connection.
Like you found someone who's just like you.
Exactly. But once that trust is established, they can start steering the relationship.
So it's a subtle form of influence.
Very subtle. And very effective.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout for that.
Now, let's talk about the lack of time method, creating urgency, pressure.
Oh, I know this one all too well.
It's a classic sales tactic.
This offer is only good for today.
Exactly. Or those online ads with the countdown timer.
It makes me feel like I have to act now.
They're playing on your fear of missing out.
So how do we resist that urge?
Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you're in control.
Don't let them dictate my timeline.
Exactly. Ask for more time. Walk away. Don't let them pressure you.
Okay, I can do that.
Now, let's shift gears a bit. Talk about secrecy.
Secrecy. Interesting. How does that fit in with manipulation?
Well, secrecy creates an imbalance of power.
Right. Makes sense if they know something you don't.
Exactly. It allows manipulators to operate in the shadows.
Like secret societies, cults?
Exactly. Information is tightly controlled. Outsiders are suspicious.
Or even in companies with a culture of secrecy.
Yes. It breeds distrust, makes it hard to see the manipulator's true motives.
So, whenever there's secrecy, be cautious.
Ask yourself, why is this information being hidden?
Is it to protect something legitimate or to hide something shady?
Precisely. Good example is Freemasonry.
The Freemasons, shrouded in mystery.
Right, all those rituals, symbols, conspiracy theories.
Some people think they're running the world.
Well, those theories are a bit overblown.
Probably.
But Freemasonry does have a long history of secrecy.
Which has led to speculation.
Absolutely. At times, that secrecy has been used to exclude outsiders, create a sense of elitism.
Shield themselves from criticism.
Exactly. But it's important to note that many Freemasons argue this secrecy is about preserving their traditions.
Not about hiding wrongdoing.
Right. It's a complex issue. Nuance is important.
Okay, so secrecy itself isn't inherently bad, but it can be a tool for manipulation.
Exactly. Now, let's bring this into the modern world, the consumer web industry.
Oh, yeah. The internet, a breeding ground for manipulation.
Targeted ads, addictive algorithms, dark patterns, it's everywhere.
It's overwhelming sometimes.
It is. So much information, so many stimuli, all designed to influence us.
So how do we even begin to fight back?
Awareness is key. Once you recognize the tactics, they lose their power.
Okay, so knowledge is power.
Exactly. Take control of your online experience, use ad blockers, privacy settings.
Be mindful of what I click on.
Yes. And support ethical businesses. Choose companies that respect your privacy.
Vote with my wallet.
Exactly. And let's not forget about social media, the king of manipulation.
Oh, yeah, those platforms are designed to be addictive.
They are. They exploit our insecurities, our need for validation.
Those notifications, the likes, it's hard to resist.
It is. So be mindful of your time, set limits, take breaks.
Don't let it consume my life.
Right. Curate your feed, follow accounts that inspire you, unfollow those that make you feel bad.
Create a positive online space.
Exactly. And be critical of the content. Don't believe everything you see.
Remember, it's often a distorted reality.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep
I
dive,
can't believe we've covered so much.
we have, from the psychology of manipulation to the tactics used online and offline.
It's been an eye-opening journey.
It has. And the key takeaway is this. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay true to yourself.
Don't let the manipulators win.
Exactly. The power to resist manipulation lies within each of us.
We just needed the knowledge and tools to unlock it.
And that's what we've aimed to do in this deep dive.
We hope you feel empowered to navigate the world with more awareness,
To make choices that align with your values.
to recognize and resist manipulation in all its forms.
And then one final thought to leave you with.
Okay, I'm ready.
In a world where manipulation is becoming increasingly sophisticated,
It feels like it's getting harder to spot.
it is. So how can we, both individually and collectively, create a more ethical, more empowering landscape?
Ooh, that's a big question.
It is. And we encourage you to continue exploring it.
To keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing back against manipulation in all its forms.
Because together, we can create a world where authenticity and integrity prevail.
That's a world I want to live in.
Me too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.
Keep those minds sharp, deep divers.